over the past few years, I've realized, going back to high school, like realizing in high school, but more after that, more after I graduated, because I was in the midst of dancing at that time when I'm still able to dance, and finishing high school, and dealing with all my health things. But I never realized how difficult of a childhood I actually had. And this is not talking about the physical things that I have gone through with, trying to find a diagnosis since I was 12 or 13. It's actually something that took so long to realize because I saw it as completely normal. And a lot of people think situations or things they've been through or haven't, or other people haven't gone through it, and just when it's all you know, it's normal to you. People who grow up and are in a wheelchair from, the time they can move around and be in a wheelchair as infants, that's all they know. It doesn't mean they don't think about walking or anything, but that's what their life is. Like, you can't think of it. It's hard to imagine it in another way. And that's how I've noticed that my childhood was like, because although growing up with a brother, a mother, and a father, I really grew up with this single mom. That sounds confusing, but I grew up in a very disconnected family that I viewed as normal because that's all I knew. My brother and I were always very busy. I was always at ballet or gymnastics. He was always at hockey. Due to those schedules, my dad was always with my brother, bringing hockey practice, hockey games. We always supported Brian and went to all the games that we could. Even travel games and far things too that we could. I've gone to a ton of his games and I really enjoyed it. So my mom and my dad have been into all the things that Brian has been doing. My mom was the only one who was into and doing the things that I was doing. Yes, she worked at the same dance studio I danced at, so we were together all the time. And yes, my father worked full time, but I never saw him. After that, weekends, he just wasn't there. I had an absent father. I have an absent father. And I honestly just call him my biological father because I can't personally call him my dad, because I find that there's a big difference between being a father and being a dad. And my father was never there for me. I never knew what it was like to have emotional support. I felt uncomfortable. I always had a weird feeling from way back to while I was 8 that I just didn't feel comfortable around my dad. I didn't like talking to him. I distanced myself from him without even realizing until I was older. He never really came to my things. We'd go to see Brian practice and hockey and things over the summer, and he never came and watched my ballet class or came and watched the end of my rehearsal. If anything, he might have picked me up once when my mom was somewhere and from the parking lot, and there was no connection, and I was just a kid. And my mom did everything for me, every doctor's appointment, everything I need for ballet, for school, for this, and I was very independent. But I never knew what it was like to like hug your father. Like, that doesn't happen. Hold your dad's hand, kiss your dad, hug your dad, say I love you to your dad. Like, that wasn't a thing. No. It seemed like there was this person that was just gone at work all day, and then a stranger who would come in and come home at midnight and go to bed. And it was a person I never knew. And that's what I grew up with for so many years, and that's what I saw as normal. And honestly, over this past 2 years, more than that, past couple years since meeting one of my best friends, Abby, and going to her house and having dinner with her family, the laughs her mom and her father had together, and joy, and just like enjoyed being in the same room and liking each other, and like just the fact that they were like talking to each other and having a conversation that was just like nice, and not just like, oh, we have to pick up Brian, like something you have to talk about. Just like talking to each other for pleasure. I've never seen that before. So I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what it looks like for a husband and a family, like a mother and a father, like, who actually like to spend time together, and actually do spend time together and eat dinner together and want to know about each other's days. But mine was never there. And I tried sometimes, but there was a lot of things that just couldn't get through. Like, couldn't get through to him. He was just, I mean, I haven't spoken to my father in over 2 years, like text, phone call, email, like no contact. And it's been the best choice I've ever made. There are lots of things that went into making that decision. It was really for my mental well-being, and that this person was not a good fit to be in my life. And I have been so happy since never seeing his face again, as much as that sounds horrible, because most people hopefully don't want to be saying that about someone that they're blood related to, but blood doesn't equal family. And my mom is my family. My mom's side of my family is my family. To me, that person is just another person, and I have no relationship with him, and I don't want a relationship with him. So that works out well in my favor. But I didn't realize, I'm still realizing today when I see couples out like holding hands, like, oh, I can't remember my parents ever holding hands, or like looking at each other and smiling, or giving each other a kiss on the cheek, like, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's another thing I didn't notice. Oh, they're gonna go out to dinner together on their anniversary, they're gonna do something special? Oh, I didn't realize people did that. Like, and now I see like how ridiculous it is, but when you're put in that situation, that's how you grow up. That's what you know. And it's taken a long time to realize and put a bunch of these things together. A long time. I mean, it's my whole life. I wish I didn't grow up with him. Even though he really wasn't a part of my life, but the parts of my life he was in were not good and were very negative and very harmful and not good for me and put me in very bad positions. So this is really, no one forced me to make any choices. I made a decision, to go no contact. That's not, my brother makes his own decisions, and that's not my place to talk about what he decides to do. And I respect what he decides to do, what he decides not to do, what my mom, but I realized that, I'm an adult, and I don't have to be involved with a person that's so negative to my emotional and mental well-being. And that is why I think of myself as more of raised by a single mom, because my mom did everything for me, and that person wasn't there for me, and really only cared about and showed care for my brother. And of course, that's not any of his fault. But yes, I just wanted to do a little explaining today. It's hard because there's so many long stories and things that happen that I can't just go from complete start to finish of, why everything happened the way it did and what I felt and everything in one video. But if people comment specific questions, I think it'd be way easier for me to pinpoint. And that doesn't mean I'm going to answer every question, or I might, I want to say what I'm comfortable saying. And I want to tell parents out there that if you're not happy being together, married, and you have children, a child or 12 children, and if you're not in a good marriage, that it is so much better for yourselves and for the children, no matter how old they are, to split and to, either just be separated, or if you're divorced, or if you're just taking time away from each other, than to stick together for the children, because a lot of times it just creates more stress and anxiety and problems within the family, which is not what's best for the kid. And I can say for myself, from my point of view, that I'm so much happier being just with my mom and then having my brother visit when he comes from where he lives down south than I was living with my father in the household, because it wasn't a good relationship and it wasn't a good place for me to be around. So when it's a toxic situation, no matter how bad it can seem, it's so much better to sometimes take a hard decision and think that you're not putting your kids first, but actually it's really in a benefit for the children, for both parents to be happy, whether they're together or they're not, because you just want to be with people that love you and take care of you and people that get along. And if that's not how it is, it's way better to change things, even though that can be hard for a lot of children, teenagers, or anyone. But for me, life has been so much better. Please feel free to comment. I'm not editing this, so I'm sorry for my pausing, and that's like my aphasia and just trying to figure out where I'm going with talking, because I'm just openly talking right now. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into life, and please feel free to leave any questions, and I'd love to make another video, or if you have a certain specific topic that maybe I didn't touch on, or I just very vaguely touched on and you'd like to hear more about it, or why I chose to do something or didn't choose to do something else, I'll see what I can do about those situations. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.